welcome. So excited for this week. This week we are making a pumpkin roll cake. It is incredibly simple. This is actually something that my sister always makes, and she brings every year for, every year that we get together for Thanksgiving, and we always snack on it while we are making the main dinner. So it's after breakfast, but before lunch, because we don't really eat lunch because we have an early dinner. I don't know. Thanksgiving is like its own day when it comes to meal times and classic meals. So but yeah, so she usually makes one of these, and it's gone in about 5 seconds. So this year, hopefully, she is making more than that because one is not enough for 20 people. I'm just saying. Actually, I guess I should say I hope that we're able to get together for Thanksgiving this year. All right. Margaret, hello. Tina, hi. Fancy family, hello from Stina. Where is Stina? Xavier, hello from Reading. Wow, you guys are from all over the place. Rhonda, yummy. Okay, everybody, let's plug this in. I got a new phone, and this week I was filming my normal Instagram story. I usually, right before I go live, I'll film a little Instagram story saying, hey, I'm live, swipe up to join me. And the new cameras on the new phones, my phone was like 2.5 years old. The new cameras, I'm like, I should probably hold this a little bit further away. I've never felt the need for a filter before because this is just what I look like, but the new cameras are good enough that I'm thinking I might need one. Okay, so this is seriously so quick, so simple. This is going to be not that long of a live video, but the good news is this is something that is so crazy simple to recreate at home. You're going to love it. So one of the first things that you need to consider is what size pan are you using? So this is a classic jelly roll pan, 15.25 by 10.25 by 1. Now I only have one of these because I tend to use the larger half sheet pans for all of my cooking and baking needs. So if you want to use, if this is what you have like me and this is what you want to use, I will say, one, it'll make a fatter roll because typically you roll the short end up to get more rolls, right? Versus this way. So your log is 10 inches long and it tends to be, about this big around. If you're going to use this one, you can see you're going to get a couple more inches of length of your final roll, and it'll be just a little bit thicker. What you want to do to make this larger size is to go to 1.5 times the recipe. I know it doesn't look like it's 1.5 times bigger. It really doesn't, but I did the math, and by volume, it's actually like 1.4, so 1.5 will do. Okay. But we're going to use the normal classic jelly roll pan size today. To prep your jelly roll pan, you want to get parchment paper that you cut to the same length as your pan, so 15.25 inches, but you want to let it overhang on both sides, and you want to spray down the edges that don't have parchment paper on them. We're going to, hold on. You're going to put that parchment paper in. So it should go from edge to edge. So this way we'll be able to lift it out at the end really easily by having that overhang. But you won't have a bunch of big bulky corners. If your parchment paper is longer than the pan, then you have to deal with your corners bunching up. And you don't need all 4 sides to be covered in order to pull it out of the pan. So that is why I like doing it like this. All right. So, Jen, you'll swing by for leftovers. 100%. Bill has the kids. Well, technically he has the kids tonight, which means he has one of my 5 children. So I'm sure there will be leftovers. Georgianne, hello from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Paige, love my hair. Oh, this is I took a shower and washed it today, and when I tried to use my new curling iron, it didn't actually curl, so I just pulled it up. Hair, so thank you. And welcome. Fancy family. Oh, Sweden, nice. Hello, Ashley. Set your timer to remind you about my show. You didn't want to miss you. Georgianne, you are so sweet. Thank you so much. Noella from Bakersfield, California. One of my very best friends grew up in Bakersfield. Okay. That's not what I want to do. We're going to start by making the cake batter. And this is just a nice, simple cake batter. We're going to start with our dry ingredients. So I have flour and New Hampshire. Welcome. And we're going to add baking powder. And I do 1 teaspoon of baking powder. You'll notice that a lot of the Libby's recipe calls for half baking powder, half baking soda. I just use baking powder, and I've never had a problem with it before. Bradley, welcome. Now we're going to add our spices. So you can just use pumpkin pie spice, right? This is a pumpkin dessert. Pumpkin pie spice is perfect for this. I like to kind of mix my own spices. So we have cinnamon. And I'm actually doing 3/4. So cinnamon. We have nutmeg. Ooh, my nutmeg does not pour nicely. These jars are cute, but they're terrible for getting spices out of. All right, and now because the cake batter is actually a very small amount. So for the ginger and the cloves, you could actually just leave them out if you want. If you want to add them, I recommend 1/8 of a teaspoon. And if you aren't a big clove and ginger fan like me, you can totally leave them out. And then we're going to add our salt. Also 1/4 teaspoon. And whisk the whole thing together. Tiffany, hello from the United States. It's nice to have a local. It is amazing, isn't it? I remember, now I am probably older than a lot of you. We had a computer at home, which was unusual for back when I was growing up. And my dad actually got the internet, so I had an email address starting when I turned 14. Good old AOL dial-up. And it is just crazy to think that this short time later, we're going to pretend it wasn't that long ago, how much the world has opened up and we are able to talk with people and do a cooking show like this from people all over the world. That's just insanity to me. All right, so now we're going to make the wet ingredients. So again, the classic Libby's recipe of the pumpkin roll cake, which is probably what every pumpkin roll cake is based off of, uses white sugar. But as I talked about last week, when I make pumpkin desserts, I like to use brown sugar because it gives just a more, I call it warm flavor to the dessert. I'm not quite sure any other way to describe it, but it is my preference. Paige, you always set a reminder as well. You're so sweet. All right. And we're going to beat these two together until they're nice and creamy. And we just opened up a brand new bag of brown sugar. And it already has chunks in it. So notice as I'm beating it, it's getting lighter in color and it's growing a little bit, right? That is what we want out of this cake recipe. Tiffany, you love learning baking recipes. Oh, me too. I love baking. And welcome, Minnesota. Nice. Ooh, do you have a great Minnesota accent? Neo, 2 a.m. in South Africa. Wow. I wonder where the farthest anybody is watching from. This is crazy. What year did I live in Richardson, Texas? You're in Allen. I was in Richardson. Oh, why am I taking the beaters away? We're going to keep using them. This is what happens when you get distracted. Xavier, your desserts always look so delicious. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, pumpkin. I'm like, what's next? And I hit the wrong button again. There we go. Richardson. I was 19 to 20 the years that I lived in Richardson. So now this is just pumpkin puree. This only calls for 2/3 of a cup. Now if you're using a can, most cans are like 1 3/4 cup, just under 2 cups. So this is actually a great recipe if you have like some leftovers from something else, because it's not a ton of pumpkin. Bradley, it's 1 a.m. in Sweden, but you don't have a job so you can watch until it's over. Oh, well, I'm sorry about the job, but I'm so glad that you're able to watch. I'm trying so my new hand blender has this great speed control right here, but that means it always starts at whatever speed you left it at. So when you're adding new ingredients, I gotta make sure to remember to go down or I have made a huge mess. Now, obviously I have made a lot of homemade puree pumpkin, so I am just using that up. I just have a big bag of it and I'm just using it up. I originally started bagging it and weighing it by like 15-ounce bags so that I could easily substitute it for any recipes, but so many recipes just call for a portion that I have this one bag that I'm just using stuff out of too. So it's a good way to get rid of any pumpkin excess. Okay, pumpkin. Nice. Okay, now it's time to add the dry ingredients. I'm like, what am I thinking here? And dry over wet. Like, this has seriously been such an easy recipe, right? We're gonna give it a couple seconds of mixing. Again, you don't want to mix it, start it off too high or you'll just get a powder cloud everywhere. Scrape down the sides of the bowl. Jean, how are you doing tonight? I am doing great. My little guy has been sick. My kids' schools have closed because of teachers being sick, so all of my kids have been home today. So it has been a little off of our norm, but we're good. Okay. Now I can pull these off. So, easy peasy batter, right? Like that was literally just a couple minutes. The powder cloud. Speaking from experience. Yes, Jill, you know me well. I left my mixer on too high and I poured the dry ingredients in earlier today when I was making an earlier batch. And I created a massive powder cloud. In fact, there's still powder all over my laptop, keys, and all over my new phone screen. So that's fun. It takes talent to be as messy as I sometimes can get. Sometimes I'm a really clean cook, and sometimes I am super, super, super messy. So you just never know what you're gonna get with me. All right, so now it always looks to me like there's not enough batter, but you have to remember the roll cake is on the thinner side, right? So that when you roll it up, you know, you get that cake frosting swirl. If it was too thick, it would be really hard to do. So it is purposefully a very thin cake, but that also means it cooks really quickly as well. So just spread this out. If you see any big brown sugar chunks, pull them out. Oh, there's one. And there's one. Lovely. I do not know what is up with my bad luck with brown sugar. I have had such chunky brown sugar this year. It makes me want to scream. Oh, another one. I've even tried the bread trick that you guys recommended for keeping your brown sugar softer, and it has totally worked. Like, my brown sugar went from rock hard to much, much, much softer, but I'm still getting these big chunks that nothing is getting rid of. So, driving me batty. Try to get this as even as possible. There we go. Hi everyone, turning in from Baltimore. Hello Adrian, welcome, welcome. From Malaysia, nice. You enjoy my cooking? Oh, thank you so much, you're so sweet. When did I live in Japan? Okay, so Japan was, let's see. My son was 6 months old when we moved there, and he turns 18 in 2 months. So it's been a while. So 17 years ago. And oh, I missed it. I love Japan. All right, so give it a quick shake just to kind of help even it out. We're going to throw it in the oven at 375 for 13 minutes. Alexa, set timer for 13 minutes. Now, if you have a dark pan...
13 minutes, starting now.
Thank you. If you have a dark pan, start checking it at like 11 or 11 and a half minutes. 11's going to still be a little shy, but those darker pans tend to cook a little faster. So I did 13 earlier today in this pan, and it worked beautifully. If anything, I probably would have pulled it out just a little bit faster, but that's probably my fault because I was down the hall. What kind of pan am I using? Yes, it's a jelly roll pan. So it's 15 1/4 by 10 1/4 by 1 inch. It's just called jelly roll pan. That's the size that it is. I have also used a half sheet cake pan because that's a little bit more of a standard size that a lot of people own. And but you want to 1.5 times the recipe to make it in the larger pan. Okay, so while we are waiting for that to cook, we're actually going to make the frosting. Typically, you make the frosting while your cake is cooling, but nobody wants to sit here for 13 minutes listening to me try to get the time going. So we are going to move on. And I'm gonna wash the beaters real fast. I wish, you know how mixers often come with, and all my towels are missing. You know how beaters come with like normal beaters, whisks, and like bread hooks? I wish they would come with 2 sets of these, right? I mean, which one are you really using the most? When you go from recipe to recipe, I mean, I know it tastes like 5 seconds to clean, but there have been many times where I'm like, I wish I just had another one of these. Okay. So this is just going to be a classic cream cheese frosting. So we have our cream cheese. Your Alexa just set your timer 13 minutes. Maybe I shouldn't use it, but I have had too many times where I forget to set the oven timer, and so yeah, Alexa's pretty much my savior these days. And then some butter. This is 8 ounces. This is just from Costco, so it's a weird size, but it is the normal 8 ounces, just in a different shape. And 6 tablespoons of butter. You've never made a roll cake, you're a chicken. Jill, that is why you come to my house and make one with me. You know I'm not a chicken. You love the color of my shirt. Oh, thank you, Paige. Put the brown sugar bag into another savory bag, so it's double bagged, no lumps. You know, Karen, I just opened this one today, and it already has these really dark chunks. So I have put a piece of bread in it, and I've put it in another bag. So we will see. I think I've just been getting some bad bags. I don't know. I've tried a couple different stores. I think it's also because I always keep like a food storage. So I always get my oldest bag. So I also have my bags around for a while. So maybe that's my problem. I don't know. Who knows? CEO of having to translate recipes because we don't use cups here. Now on my website, I do have a metric button in the under ingredients. If you go to one of my recipes, and I think most of them have that now. So you can just click over to metric and that will help. Jen, there's no easy making so fun. Your family's favorite is mint chocolate chip with devil's food. Nice, Jen. So we're swapping roles, right? All right, let's use the other camera. One of the only negatives of winter is that no matter how long you leave your butter and cream cheese out, it's always a little bit harder. All right. So in the summer, you set your cream cheese out for 5 seconds here, and it's too soft. In the winter, you have it out all day, and it's still not soft enough. But powerful mixer will do it. Monica, how are you? I'm doing good. Put in at least 3 slices of bread. Good tip, Linda. I will try that and see. Paige, you've made red velvet rolled cake for the first time, and it turned out beautifully, much to my surprise. It's amazing how easy they are, right? All right, so now we have this mixture, and we have our powdered sugar. Now, if you add all of the powdered sugar at once, you tend to get a powdered sugar cloud. So I tend to just add half. And wait until that's totally mixed in. And then I add the other half. So it has nothing to do with the recipe. It doesn't affect the recipe. It's just kind of a cleanly thing. Just keeping things from too much of a mess. All right, now I'm going to add the vanilla and mix it in. That splattered right on me. Delicious. If yours is a little too thick for spreading easily, you can always add a little bit of heavy whipping cream, but yeah, this should be just fine. Unless you're like, I don't know, unless you add too much powdered sugar. If your recipe calls for more powdered sugar than this, it might be too thick. I love how this new mixer is awesome and it's really strong, but everything climbs up the sides. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, that did nothing. All right, let's wipe down my splattery mess. I'll put that off to the side. And we're going to bring in the roll that I made earlier today. So I have like frosting all over my belly. That's one of the reasons I crop in like this. If I crop fully out, you would see just how messy I really am. So the cake still has 4 minutes left, and then obviously you want it to cool. So I made a roll previously. So we're kind of doing this a little bit out of order because when this cake comes out of the oven, I'm going to show you how to get to this stage. But for now, here we are. So when your cake comes out of the oven, you want to place it on a towel and roll it up while it's still warm and let it cool in this shape for the best results. So I have seen two different ways of doing this. The right way and the wrong way. No. I have seen a lot of bloggers pull the cake out of the pan with parchment and just lifting it straight up and then rolling it on the parchment, right, like this, leaving the parchment on the outside of the cake. And what, and what that does is that leaves the bottom of the cake as the outside instead of the top of the cake as the outside. Traditionally, what you do is what I'm going to show you how to do is you flip your cake over onto a towel that you've prepared and then peel off the parchment paper and wrap it up. By leaving the parchment paper on, you're not allowing the cake any flexibility on that one side of the cake, right? So if you have your cake on parchment paper and you roll it up, you're squishing the inside of the cake together and you're keeping the outside of the cake, the bottom part of the cake, it's not able to move, right? Because the parchment holds it in just that size. By peeling the parchment paper off before you roll the cake up, you allow the cake to have more flexibility on the outside instead of being constrained. And by flipping it upside down, taking the parchment paper off, the bottom of the cake that's stuck to the parchment typically is the inside of your roll, and the top of the cake that you bake, that pretty top that you get, is the outside. So personal preference, I have seen people do it both ways. I prefer the traditional way. I feel like you get the best results, as I just explained, but both ways work. So I rolled this up, right, on my towel, and now we're going to unroll it. To out of the way. I'm going to unroll it. All right. So this is the bottom of my cake. It's going to be the inside of our cake roll where the top of the cake becomes the outside, right? I just feel like it has a better appeal because you can see, look at all those spots from my brown sugar. All right, so now we're going to take this frosting. So I made this earlier and let it cool completely in that shape. If you let the cake cool flat and roll it after it's cooled, your cake is going to crack. So by rolling it up while it's warm and letting it cool in that shape, you'll get the best final results for a really pretty outside and no breaking. Little wrinkling, but no breaking. Now obviously you can use your spatula for frosting. I just feel comfortable frosting with the frosting spatula since I use it so stinking much. Margaret, you're going to do it that way, you can't wait? Yes, let me know. Is that why it gets all cracky? Either the reason it gets cracky is usually because it's rolled while it's, if it's too cool when it's rolled, it will get cracky. But yes, the parchment will, because it will hold it in place, then when you unroll it and take the parchment off, it could definitely cause cracks, 100%. So for those of you who have done the parchment paper way, try this way and let me know what you think, right? Tell me if you're like, oh, Ashlee, you're crazy. It's way easier with the parchment and you're being stupid. That's fine. You can totally tell me that. It will not hurt my feelings. You know, I don't know. I'm a little bit weird and I just kind of have the way that I like things, and that is one of them. All right, so you want to frost it as evenly as possible so you get that nice even cream cheese roll. And I try not to go, oh, thank you, Alexa. Alexa, stop. I try to go right up to the edge, but not, Alexa, stop, but not over the edge. And notice where it's curled up. I'm not trying to force it down because it's going to get this big chunk in here anyway. So now we're going to re-roll it just like we did before, but instead of rolling with the towel, we're going to use the towel to help us push, but we're going to keep peeling the towel away, right? And when we get here, I'm going to stop and bring over my plate, because this, you can see where it's flatter from where it was rolled earlier. There we go. Okay, and now what you want to do is cover this in plastic wrap and put it in the fridge. If I'm not going to eat it for, like if I'm making this a couple days early and I'm not going to eat it, I would wrap it completely in plastic like it was wrapped in the towel earlier, because I'm just going to throw this in the freezer for a couple seconds while we bring out the other cake and roll it. So I'm just very loosely covering it. Okay, so let's bring that out of the oven. Okay. Whew, melt my eyelashes. All right, so it should start to pull away from the sides, and when you press on it with your finger, it should bounce back and not leave an indent. If it stays indented where you press, it needs another minute or two. So let's prepare our towel. Now I like these thin tea towels for this, right? Versus bulky towels. And you'll notice this stuck right here. I clearly didn't get enough powdered sugar on this. So I'm actually going to put this one away and get out a clean one. Okay, so I have a clean towel and I have powdered sugar. So I've stirred up my powdered sugar to try to break up any clumps, and I'm going to put it in my duster and I'm going to dust this. This is one of those things you can actually prep while it's in the oven, so the second you take it out you can move on to the next portion of this. And be pretty heavy-handed with this. As you saw, mine's stuck in that one spot. I must not have got enough powdered sugar right there on that section. Make sure that you get it all the way to the edge. This is not the time to be stingy. All right, so it should look like a nice snow covering on your towel. And bring your cake over. Okay. And I am holding this. Hold on, let me walk over to the side. Okay, so I'm holding this with my thumbs underneath and my fingers on top to make it easier for flipping. All right, and now we're going to take the parchment paper off. There we go. Okay. So just carefully peel. If it starts to stick at all, just stop, figure out why it's sticking. Go back. Throw that away. Okay, so now I fold the end over and I just start rolling. And I'm not trying to force it. I just kind of let it go as loose or as tight as it wants. It's a pretty, keep yourself pretty loose. And then I stop when I get here, right? This is where I end it. I just flip that right over. And it kind of has a natural stopping point. And then I just keep this off to the side and let it cool completely. So you'll notice, right? See how that stays kind of powdered sugary? That's always going to happen on the outside when you do this method versus versus the parchment method. And you can see that in this final project, right? See how it has, and you'll notice it more with the darker cakes, like a chocolate or something like that. And it'll always be a little cracky, but there's no major breaks in here, right? So what you want to do at the very, very end is take that same duster and some powdered sugar, and then nobody will know that it had that powdered sugar on it from the towel, right? Nice snow-covered log. So there we go. Hold on. Bring the pretty towel back into place. Wipe down the counter of the powdered sugar. Give ourselves a nice end shot. All right. I almost spilled that. Way to go, Ashley. So we have our nice rolled up exterior. Now, if you really want to make, I don't mind the rustic look of the ends of my cake, right? But if you don't like the rustic look, you could always cut off like 1/2 inch on each side to have a nice clean break. All right, let's get the knife. Let's get a plate. I forgot to pick out plates earlier, and as I was going to get mine, I found this green one that matches my green towel. Isn't that pretty? Okay. Oh, and I have a new toy. Okay. Pretty excited about this. I've been wanting to get a 4th camera, mostly to get a front shot low, but I'm still playing with placement, and I did just moving stuff out of the way. There we go. I did just get this new camera, and look, I have it on a dolly so I can get awesome, oops, what did I hit? There we go. So I can get cool shots like this in. Obviously, I'll try not to get the laptop in. But anyway, pretty cool, huh? Nice. All right. So like I said, if you want to cut that outside 1/2 inch, and this is going to be better after it's chilled in the fridge for a couple hours, so forgive the mess that this is going to be. All right, so you can do that and have a cleaner end if you want. You could also put less frosting on the very end so you have less cream cheese right in the middle. I probably should have gone a little bit farther on this edge, but anyway. Another way to get really crisp lines is to heat up your knife by running it under hot water. If you're unlike me, your water heater's not broken still. I can get lukewarm water. I can't get hot water right now. Anyway, run your knife under really hot water. Obviously, chill the cake so the cream cheese is firm. And run your knife under really hot water, dry it off with a towel, and make your slices, and you'll get really clean slices. And that's true for any cake. Now, you guys know how I feel about refrigerating cakes. No bueno. Dries out cakes. So what I typically do is stick this in the freezer for like 10 minutes before I serve it. Obviously, with cream cheese frosting, you're going to have to refrigerate anything that's not eaten right away. But typically what I would do is I would make this before dinner, put it in the fridge through dinner, then toss it in the freezer for like 5-10 minutes right before serving it so I can get those so the cream cheese firms up really fast, but not so hard that it's difficult to eat. And then really warm knife, nice clean slices, is delicious. All right. So I like to typically cut about 3/4 inch slices. Usually it's not so jiggly because the cream cheese has had a little bit more time to firm up. But take what we can get. And trying to get my, all right. So there we go. Nice clean slice. So I was trying to get my overhead camera back on. It turned off so you could get a better look at the swirl on that roll. Right, and the cake should be nice and squishy still. And typically your cream cheese is a little bit firmer. But anyway, all right, bite. Bite. Okay. Oh, good. So, quick, easy, delicious. Next week, I plan on making cheesecake. Last week, I asked you guys what flavors you wanted, lemon meringue pie or butterbeer. Also, do you want to see classic or Instapot version of the recipe? So let me know in the comments what you want to do. Paige, if you're on YouTube, so if you just click open the description box, the recipe is right there. And I have to wait till tomorrow because it's already dark here to take pictures of the other roll to get it on my website. So it'll be up after that. To be fair, I've been saying that since March and I'm really behind on recipes, but I'm trying to turn over a new leaf and get recipes up faster. So, but for now, all the recipes that you've seen on my channel are just in the description box on YouTube. So if you're watching on Facebook, you can just head over to Ashlee Marie on YouTube and open up the description box of any video that I have made in the last 5 years, and the recipe will be there. So I'm going to stay on and answer questions. So don't forget to let me know in the comments what you want for next week. Butterbeer cheesecake or lemon meringue pie cheesecake, and baking method, baking or Instapot. So classic Instapot. And yeah, other than that, I will see you next week. So for those of you who have been commenting, I'm going to catch up as much as I can right now and go back. Okay. Jean, you're sorry to hear that my little guy's sick and the other kids are home from school. Hope he feels better soon. I do too. He just has a stuffy nose and a sore throat. Nothing super big, but with, being the year that it is, it's just easier to keep him home and he can do school at home. What kind of pan am I using? I answered that one. Time to go pick your own instead of letting them deliver it. Jen, I'm not quite sure what that was referring to. But yes, you're right. Grocery delivery has its drawbacks. The brown sugar. Duh. A lot of this brown sugar I've had for a while, so I probably did pick it out. But yeah. Put a marshmallow in the brown sugar bag. I have not heard that one, Jacqueline. That is a good tip. I will try that. Roll cakes scare you? You need to try it? Yes. I will say I've done like the roll cakes that have the design in the outside, and even that is not super difficult. So I will totally admit that before I had ever made one, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fancy and so hard, and then it was easy, and I was like, why haven't I made this before? What really hit me is the first time my sister brought one of these to Thanksgiving, and doesn't love food and cooking the way that I do, and so she's an easy cook. She likes things that are quick and easy. Her husband's the foodie, and he and we love going out to eat together. But she just wants it fast and quick and easy. So when she brought this, I was like, oh, I got this. Is there a baking difference between the 1.5 and the half sheet? That is a great question. I want to say I baked it for another minute, and it worked out just fine. But it depends on your oven as well. So that's a great question, Marcia. You've only done ice cream mold cakes. See, anything with ice cream is going to be a big hit for me. Set aside a bowl of frosting for you. Will do. Let me see if I buttercream cheese, yes, please. Oh yeah. Do you get a better turnout if you use a hand mixer versus a stand mixer? No, not at all. No difference, Melissa. It's just a small batch that I didn't feel the need to bring my. To be fair, my mixer is always out. Vera's right over here, but bringing it over here for filming, then putting it back in place. It's you can almost just hand mix the whole thing. Honestly, and get great results. Really, the only thing that you want to make sure that you're mixing a little bit harder is that egg sugar step. And what you do is you just hold a bowl. Sorry, my big bowls are dirty. But you just hold a bowl right here. You get your stronger arm for whisking, and you just whisk really, really hard, and it'll become frothy and lighter color. So you could totally do this without a mixer at all. But no, your big mixer is not going to ruin it. I will say at the very end, this is not like you don't want to just keep beating it. As soon as the dry ingredients are incorporated, stop and pour the mixture in. You don't want to overbeat it. Have you ever used vanilla paste? Yes, I love vanilla paste. It is one of my very favorite things to use. And it would totally work in this recipe. And for cheese. Do you put powdered sugar on your towel? Yes. Gorgeous. It looks so nice. Thank you so much, Margaret. You always do yours turned upside down on a towel, remove the paper, and roll it. Perfect. Yes, Sally. That's exactly how you do it. You like this size towels for cakes? Yes. What kind of duster is this? This is my OXO dusting wand. And you can see that you just turn the bottom of the handle, so fill it up.
Are you trying to shop for dusting wand?
No, Alexa. Anyway, so I will add a link in the comments to this. Actually, if you go over to my website, ashleemarie.com, and go to the top.
Sorry, I can't tell what you want to order. Please try again.
Alexa, stop. And go over to where it says shop. You'll be taken to my Amazon shop where I have links to everything that I use over there. And if it's not on there, just let me know and I'll add it. You go that plate as well. Good job. You have 6 pumpkins to bake up, and this is what you'll be doing. 100%. I just got. Where is it? Where's my pumpkin? I just got the coolest pumpkin from my friend. It was back here, so my daughter cleaned the kitchen and moved it. Remember last week I was talking about the really cool pumpkin that my friend grew that it's a thicker meat, and so you get a lot more out of it than the sugar pumpkin, but it tastes like pumpkin? She got me one. I'm so excited. She grew this in her garden. So, awesome sauce. AmberSimmons.com. She grew this for me. Anyway, I'm super excited. Jen, do you remember what it was called? Was this called the Cinderella pumpkin? Anyway, super excited to turn that into puree this week and give it a try. Beautiful. Save you a slice, Jill, anytime. Linda looks perfect. Thank you. Rhonda, you're making it. Don't forget, if you make this and you share it on social media, tag me and I will share it in my Instagram stories. Voting. Instapot cheesecake, classic. Lemon, traditional cooking. Lemon, lemon. Lemon. You know what it's like to have a sick child. You're a mom of 8. Oh, Jean. Bless you. I always wanted 8 kids, but my ex-husband only wanted 2. I got 5. So I'm happy. You have a clay bear that you put in your brown sugar like a clay pot. It's wonderful. Yes, I have seen those, and I always wondered if they work, so I will have to give that a try as well. All right. Your mouth is watering. You love pumpkin. Thank you, Paige. How far in advance do you make this? Angela, you can make it a couple days in advance. I will say, remember how I feel about refrigerators and cakes, right? If you're making it the day before, just leave it in the refrigerator. No big deal. If you are making it like a week before, I'd put it in the freezer and then let it thaw before serving. And to do that, I would wrap it really tightly in plastic, keep it in the freezer, pull it out, unwrap it, plate it, then just put some plastic over it and then let it come down to a nice slicing temperature in the fridge. You clearly need this duster. Hillary, yes, you do. You're really new. Can you get the recipe on my YouTube post? Yes, Karen, if you just click open the description box where it says read more, open here, that will give you the full recipe. You didn't get the amount for the flour. Was it not in there? Hold on. Show more. 3/4 cup all-purpose flour. It's right in there. Dang, you're so mad you missed it. Sorry, Tina. I will see you next week, though. The duster gadget is new. You haven't seen it. I have 3 of them, and I've had them for years and years and years. I adore it. New York style. Love, Tina. I have a New York style recipe already on my YouTube channel. It's actually my very first YouTube video ever. So it's not as fancy as we are now, but it still has the full recipe in there. Classic cooking, butterbeer, lemon meringue pie. If you're in the South, you leave it in the freezer for much longer. Yes, I agree. If you are someplace warm and you're serving this, I do like to cut it right out of the freezer and serve it, and it's delicious. Butterbeer cheesecake in the oven. Did you call your mixer Vera? I did. I have 2 mixers. One is Vera, and one is still unnamed. I haven't... My old mixer was called Betty, and I just haven't quite I just haven't found the perfect name for the new one yet. Lemon meringue pie in this pot. Okay, so we have quite a few votes. It looks like last week butterbeer was winning, and this week lemon meringue pie is winning. So I will look at comments from last week and this week and decide, and I will see you guys next week. 7 sons and 1 girl. Dang. Now I know why you have 8. We're trying to get that girl. Glad you got her. Okay. I think I have responded to every comment. I think I'm all caught up. And thank you guys so much for joining me this week and for watching. And I will see you guys next week.